Hey everybody, it's Dr. Jonny Bowden, and welcome back to the Basics of Weight Loss, this short course that I put together that's going to cover the things that we most need to know about when it comes to weight loss. And today we're going to talk about carbohydrates. Now, actually the next 3 sessions of this, today and the next time and the time after that, are going to be on what we call macronutrients. And macronutrients are carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Those are the 3 components of our diet. Those are the only 3 things actually that provide calories, except for alcohol. So we're going to speak a little bit about each of those categories of foods. And today we're going to talk about carbohydrates. And carbohydrates are one of the hardest ones of the groups to talk about because it's such a big tent. And you have heard, not just from me, but from many, many people about low-carb diets and cutting back on carbohydrates and how carbohydrates are the problem. And there is a certain amount of truth to that, but the truth, like everything, is a little more complicated than just that carbohydrates are good or that they're bad. The primary reason that we talk about carbohydrates being a problem for anybody is that they have the most impact on your blood sugar. And people like me actually believe that heart disease begins as a kind of pre-diabetes, starts with a problem metabolizing sugar. It starts with a problem of when sugar goes too high in the bloodstream and we have no way of getting rid of it. That's the root cause of obesity. It's also the root cause of heart disease, and it's why we pay so much attention to carbohydrates, because carbohydrates have the strongest impact on your blood sugar. Carbohydrates are also this huge tent that includes everything from cauliflower to Snickers bars to pasta and rice to green beans and Brussels sprouts. It's a very, very large category. And I'd like to talk about it kind of in terms of how processed the carbohydrates are. So the unprocessed carbohydrates are things like fibrous vegetables. And they are just not a factor in weight loss. And those are the ones like Brussels sprouts and asparagus and kale and spinach and broccoli and green leafies and all the crunchy vegetables, all that stuff. On Atkins, which was the original commercial low-carb diet, they had unlimited from vegetables in those categories. So those are not problems from a weight loss point of view. They are high in fiber and very low in actual usable carbohydrates, sugar. And on the other end of that spectrum is white rice or bread or most commercial pastas and almost all commercial cereals, even the ones that are made with whole grains. They are very, very high in starch, and starch converts to sugar very quickly, unlike, say, Brussels sprouts. And once you have food that converts to sugar quickly in the body, you're going to have elevated blood sugar. And most people don't do well with that. There are exceptions. There are people who just, their blood sugar just, the muscles just eat up that sugar. They're athletes. They're working out all the time. They're constantly active. You need that supply of sugar. They can handle it. Most of us are not like that. Most of us do not metabolize sugar and starch that way. And that is where carbohydrates get their reputation as being problematic. So, in many of the kinds of diets that you hear me talk about, you hear other health professionals talk about, a lot of the ones that are even trendy at the moment, like keto diets and bulletproof, they really stake their claim in a universe in which carbohydrates play a minor role, where they are limited. And they're limited precisely because of their effect on blood sugar. And why do we care about their effect on blood sugar? Because that is what drives the hormone insulin, and insulin is the hormone, or the main hormone, that makes you fat. So if you want to lose weight, you have to control insulin. If you want to control insulin, you have to control blood sugar. And if you want to control blood sugar, you have to be very careful about the carbohydrates you eat. And that's where it all ties together. Now, carbohydrates have a lot of good stuff in them. I mean, an apple has pectin, it's a fiber. It has vitamin C, obviously. It has all kinds of flavonoids like quercetin, which are anti-inflammatory. So there are great things in carbohydrates. But for people whose metabolism is very sensitive to even the small amount of sugar, say, in an apple, they have to limit even these very healthy foods because of their particular impact on these people's metabolism. There are people who, if you eat a bite of an apple, your blood sugar is going to go to the ceiling. They're rare, but they happen. That kind of reaction happens. And we know this from research, that the reaction that you might have to an apple and the reaction I might have, or the reaction you might have to ice cream and the reaction I might have to ice cream, if you measured it, in terms of metabolic metrics like blood glucose and insulin and all of that, we might be very, very different. So it's very hard to make a universal rule that something's bad or good, except maybe with sugar and trans fats. But you have to be careful with carbohydrates that you're getting the nutrient-dense ones, which are like the fruits and vegetables, and you're not getting the ones that are kind of empty calories, which I'm sorry to say is almost all cereals, all pastas, and all breads. There are exceptions, but for the most part, all the processed carbs are the ones that we talk about when we talk about low-carb diets and their benefits. Because when you get that sugar out of your system, even when it's disguised as a healthy carbohydrate and it's starch and you don't think there's really sugar in it, but your body thinks otherwise, when you get those out of your diet, lots of things change. Your hormones change. The amount of insulin in your system changes, and insulin is a fat-storing signal. So now maybe some of the fat-releasing hormones can get a little play and a little bit of action because you're not constantly filling your body with sugar, which causes insulin to continue to be present and stop any kind of hope of weight loss. So all those things change. And also, lots of metabolic markers that you might not be interested in right now because we're talking just about weight loss, but things that actually extend your life and extend your vitality and just in general make you healthier and more resilient, more able to fight off diseases. All those things also change for the